Hi, I'm Holly Kovo from Fitting Fitness In. I'm a personal trainer and nutrition specialist, and welcome to Get Healthy with Holly. Today I'm here on Barrett's Mill Farm, and I'm here with Lise Holdorf and Melissa Maxwell. Welcome.
Thanks.
And they are the co-owners of Barrett's Mill Farm, which is a certified organic farm here in Concord, Mass. And let me just give a little bit of intro on the farm. You grow vegetables, fruit, flowers for your farm stand that's open to the public, but you also have a CSA, which is a community supported agriculture program, which we're going to talk about because I'm very interested in that. And the land here has been farmed since the 1600s, right? By Colonel James Barrett, who was very famous and had a famous role in the Revolutionary War. And then it was owned by the McGrath family. Okay, good. And so, Lisa and Melissa, you've been running the farm since 2014, and you lease it from the town of Concord? That's great. Wow, well, thanks for letting us film here today. I'm very excited. I have to give you a little disclosure. My daughter, Jessica, has worked here 2 summers in a row, so I know a little bit more about the farm, and that's why I was excited to come today. So why don't you tell me a little bit, how did you start farming? I mean, what drew you to farming?
I started farming the summer after college. I did it just as a part-time job to get outside, but I really loved the community aspect of it, like the crew I worked with, and I really loved working outside, and I saw that the farm managers got to run their own sustainable business, and I just really took to it and decided after that it was what I was going to do for my career.
Great. Well, what was your degree in college?
It was an environmental studies degree, and I had an interest in sustainable businesses, but had done a lot of outdoor jobs during college, doing trail work and things like that, so it really sort of merged my interests. Perfect. And I was a vegetarian, so learning where the vegetables came from was pretty exciting.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. How about you, Lise?
So I started farming right after I got out of the Peace Corps, and I had always kind of had an interest in gardening and spending time outdoors, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I got out of the Peace Corps, and so I thought, I'll just try farming. It sounds pretty fun, and I think it's a great way to have a positive impact on the environment. Like Melissa, I was interested in sustainable businesses and just sustainable ways of living. So I stared apprenticing at the same farm that Melissa was at. So that's how we first met. Yep. And I loved it and kept going. So yeah, that's where we are now.
That's awesome. So how did you find Barrett's Mill Farm? Was it being farmed when you first found it?
So it had been farmed by the McGrath family for 100 years, as you mentioned. Patrick McGrath was the last in the family to farm the land. He passed away in 2013. And the town at that time purchased the house lot that also had the barn and the farm stand on it, and decided they purchased that because they really wanted to make sure that the farmland could be run as a business by young farmers, new farmers. So that I actually grew up in Concord, and so my parents kind of nudged me like, did you hear about this farming opportunity in Concord? So that's how I first heard about it.
Yeah, so the town put out a request for proposals, and so we wrote a business plan, and there was an interview process, and they were selecting farmers to start a business here. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. That's a big leap.
Yeah.
That's a big leap. But you know what? It was a good one.
Yeah.
So how big is Barrett's Mill Farm? How large is it?
So we grow on about 14 acres or so, and we sell those vegetables through our farm stand, like we mentioned, and our CSA, which has 250 members. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about the CSA, because I had never encountered a CSA before. I'm from New York, not the city, but just north of the city. And sometimes I feel like I'm living in Green Acres because my husband is from a chicken farm in Rhode Island. And so here we are. And so I've never heard of it. So how does a CSA work?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, it stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and the idea is that the members are making a real commitment to the farm, and so they give the farmers money up front right when you really need to be spending a lot of money, but aren't, like if you were just running a typical farm stand or a wholesale business, you wouldn't be taking in revenue at all in the winter, at least in traditional seasons. So it's a way for you to get the money to purchase seeds, to hire employees to start, prepping the ground for planting, for doing the planting, for weeding, up until when you start harvesting and can actually start selling the vegetables. So the members are really making a commitment to the farm to help it be financially viable year-round and help with cash flow.
Right.
So it also is just I think years like this, where it's been such a difficult season, we've had such extreme weather, lots of rain, and then intense heat, and even at the beginning of the season, it's hard to remember this at this point because it was such a rainy summer, but actually at the beginning of the season, we were moving into drought territory. So it was just, we kind of had the whole gamut of experiences this season. And the security of having those CSA members who've already made that commitment and signed up for the year really is just a huge boost for us. And we still have to provide the vegetables, and we did provide the vegetables, but and are still providing the vegetables. But it really just made this season possible, and is making it possible for us to farm again next year.
Well, and it's so hard to be farmers anyway. I mean, it's just a hard business, and so to have at least that up front. So how many members do you take for CSA?
So we have 250 CSA members, and we do a program that's kind of a similar idea to the CSA. It's called Barrett's Bucks. You might have heard of Farm Bucks programs where people will pay money up front at the beginning of the season and have a store credit.
Oh, okay.
So it's similar in the sense that you're making a commitment. It's a smaller commitment than the CSA, and it's a more flexible commitment, so you can come and shop in the store and get whatever you want that's available in the store. In the CSA, it might be we don't have enough tomatoes in the early tomato season to have it in the CSA. Whereas, in the farm stand, we might have the very first tomatoes in there.
So you have to have enough produce for the 250 CSA to get it, to put it in the CSA.
Yes.
So is that a number that you limit to 250? Okay.
Yeah, we grew over time. We started the CSA in 2014, had 40 members, and then we increased it as we were able to, as our business grew and we could have more employees and grow on more land. And at this point, we do sell out of the 250, but we cap it so that we can make sure to have what we want for everybody.
Right, and then the overage is for the Barrett's Farm Bucks. We just always plan on having that it's built in that we grow enough produce for the farm stand and for the Barrett's Bucks as well. Yeah. Great. And so when do people sign up for the CSA? Because if you fill up, I guess people are waiting in line, huh?
Yeah, so we actually started renewals now for folks who are already members to sign up for next year. And then we've typically been selling out in the spring around March or April. But that's just a recent thing as we become more established. We haven't always sold out before we opened.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've heard from some of your clients or customers that you also donate some CSA shares, like Minuteman Arc.
We do, yeah. So Minuteman Arc comes to the farm every week and has a CSA share. We also have 2 memberships that go to Dignity and Asylum, a Concord-based nonprofit. Yeah, so those 3 shares, and then we also have we do take SNAP benefits for the CSA, and we're part of the HIP, the Healthy Incentive Program. So we also offer discounted memberships to folks paying using SNAP benefits.
Oh, that's great. So you give back.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's awesome. So some of my favorites that Jess has brought home from the CSA are beets. I had never had fresh beets before. I only knew beets in pickled in a jar, and I never liked them. I don't like it. I don't like many pickled things. But so when she brought them home, and I started looking at recipes, and it was just very easy. You know, you can peel them or not. First time I didn't peel them, but now I peel them because it's a little better. I peel them, slice them, put them on a sheet pan with a little olive oil and salt, and I just put them in the oven, 400 degrees for about 15-20 minutes, and oh my gosh, they are awesome.
Yeah.
And my husband, I've converted him too, because he's like, I don't like beets. I'm like, just try it. Try something new. So that's another thing I love about the CSA. I'm always trying new things. And then I'm looking up new recipes, or you send out a newsletter every week, and there's always a recipe on there for something that came available that week in the CSA. So it's really awesome. I encourage my clients to try new products and new things, especially produce and fruit. So I think it's a great idea. Now, and I like the variety, so that's really awesome. Now, here we are standing here in front of 2 tractors. What would you say your most important piece of machinery is at the farm?
Lisa's going to have trouble deciding between the tractors, I think. Lisa's the tractor.
I think our main tillage tractor, our 2640, is probably our most important, because it can do almost anything on the farm, with the exception of what these ones can do, which is cultivation. We have a lot of cultivation equipment that goes on these tractors for weeding the plants, so that we still do a lot of hand weeding, but it takes care of a lot of the weeds for us, so that we're not, we would just be weeding from sun up till sundown and never harvest any vegetables.
Yeah,
if we
that would
didn't
be
have
tough.
them.
Yeah.
But in order to have the beds to plant into, the other tractor, I would say, is the 2640 that I just mentioned.
Now, how about that truck that my daughter was telling me broke down and they had to push it back in?
Yeah, the truck's pretty high on our list too. It's one of those that we wouldn't have put on the list until it broke.
Yeah, so they're still in need of a truck. So any viewer out there that wants to donate a truck for them, they'd graciously accept it. That's always an important thing. So tell me about this new squash that's this week in the CSA. I can't even pronounce it.
Tetsukabuto?
Yeah, that's
we
it.
don't know. We just read it.
That's it. Yeah. All right. And
Yeah.
where does that come from?
So I think it's originally was a seed. So it's a hybrid of butternut squash and kabocha squash, which is kabocha is like a thin-skinned squash that's got a dry and sweet, flavor to it. But kabocha is very difficult to grow. Butternut is a lot easier to grow and a lot hardier, especially for our climate. So this hybrid that I believe was developed in Japan, but is also popular in Brazil and maybe a few other countries, is newer to the U.S., but we really like it because it tastes good, but it also is very hardy. All the other squash plants had died, and it was late September, and they were still bright green, and
nice.
Which was great. Because it was a season where we saw a lot of plants die earlier than we wanted them to, but these ones hung in there and were very healthy and vigorous. So we have really, we were initially drawn to trying them out because the seed catalog said, "This is the squash for the apocalypse."
Wow. And since we're in a pandemic,
Yeah.
maybe it's the
We
apocalypse.
chose it before the pandemic, but
There you go.
But then we thought, oh, this is very fitting. So yeah.
So can we take a look around? I'd love to see this high tunnel that Jessica always talks about.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Let's take a look.
Great.
Okay, so what is in here and why do you cover it?
Great question. So there are two things in here on the outer edges. There's spinach growing, and under the cover here is a Salanova lettuce mix. And both these things we're growing under cover because we'll be harvesting them when it's colder. We're growing it for late October, early November. And it might survive in the fields, but it would need a lot of layers of covering. This is just a netting that was keeping animals out.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but when it gets cold, we would cover it with a row cover to protect it from freezing. Yeah.
And so this is what's called the high tunnel.
High tunnel.
Tunnel?
Yep. Yeah, and we have three larger ones that we rotate crops. We grow some things for the later season, but also some of our summer crops are in high tunnels too. Like we can go and check out the colored peppers, and that they like it warmer than our climates, and it also, we can show you, allows us to trellis from the top, and we can get a higher productivity from the protected growing environment. So there's two things. Sometimes it's heat, but it's also the control that the high tunnels give us.
Nice.
This one had cucumbers over the summer in it, so another crop that likes the heat a little bit more. And we pulled the cucumbers out and planted this lettuce mix in for the fall.
So how many times can you turn over?
So some people do 3 or 4 times in a season. The things like the peppers that we'll see in a minute are in a lot longer, so there really isn't time to turn over. We plant them in early May, and we'll have those in there until frost. So we'll plant, I think we might be doing spinach in there for the winter. So we plant it in the winter, and then we'll be harvesting it in April. So we usually get 2 crops per year.
So how does it stay warm in the winter? Do you have heat in here, or just because it's
No. This helps keep the ground from freezing. Spinach is very cold hardy. We oftentimes will add row covers to things in the winter to give them extra protection. But because the combination of spinach being cold hardy and these tunnels just adding a lot of warmth and keeping it warm overnight.
So are the sides always open, or do you have things that close that in?
No, and actually the sides are something that we would love to talk about because it is, we did a project this year. We got grant funding through the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources to automate the ventilation of these high tunnels. And we did it using solar. So this is off the grid. So we have some solar panels on the back of each tunnel and motors that will raise and lower the sides depending on the temperature. So we have a controller and we set the temperature that we want it to be at when it, if it gets above a certain temperature, it starts rolling the sides up. And the same, if you look up, there's these gable vents that also provide some ventilation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. All right, let's look at the peppers. This is fun looking.
Yeah. So these are our colored peppers. We've had trouble for years growing enough colored peppers in the field because by the time they're changing color, they start out green, and we grow varieties that turn orange, red, and yellow. But they take so long that by the time they were turning, and we often get a frost, and so these peppers started producing a lot earlier and are producing later as well, and just higher quality peppers.
Well, they look good.
Yeah.
They look awesome.
So they're irrigated with drip irrigation underneath this landscape fabric, and then they're trellised up top where we have been pruning and trellising them, although we stopped doing that at a certain point. So.
Because then more goes into the fruit.
Well, we really their main season was over, so we stopped investing time in them. Yeah.
But they still look good. So how long does the CSA last? Like, when does it start? When does it end?
It starts in early June, just in time for strawberry picking, and then we have the main season. CSA ends at the end of October, and then we have an extended season that's another 4 weeks that ends just before Thanksgiving. Yeah. So the main thing we started the farm doing was the June through October, and as we've been able to grow more and have the high tunnels to grow some things a little later, we started expanding a little longer.
That's great.
Yeah, and the farm stand opens earlier. We're open in late April, early May. So we grow tulips and asparagus for the farm stand. We don't have a wide variety then, so no CSA yet, but it's fun. We can get going pretty early with those items, as well as like some things from the high tunnel.
So, what kind of flowers do you grow then? Tulips and...
So in the spring we grow tulips and some sort of fancy varieties of daffodils. And then a little bit later we have Sweet William. In between, we've been working on growing ranunculus, but I would not say we're ranunculus farmers yet.
What is that?
I don't know how to describe it.
They have a lot of like petals. They look almost like peonies, but like smaller peonies.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really pretty, and you start them in the high tunnels, or we grow them in the high tunnel, and you plant them in the winter and harvest them ideally in May
okay.
or June.
So then that was one of my questions. What do you do in the winter?
There's
no real off season then, is there?
No, we don't grow a lot in the winter, but we are, like Lise and I are very busy in the winter. Like coming up in December, we'll be making our crop plans for next year, doing our seed order, finishing the books for the season. We're sort of the office. We work in the office essentially.
Yeah.
We work on hiring people, also some big picture planning, as well as ordering supplies and things like that. We also do try to take some time off.
Yeah, I would think that it's time for vacation.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's such hard work. So are there any more flowers? I see the sunflowers are starting to go.
Yeah.
Do you have any more flowers going?
Yeah, so we grow sunflowers are actually in our CSA where folks can pick them. And then we have a small field over here that's pick your own flowers.
Oh, okay.
And it's not usually still going this time of year, although it is continuing this year. From this angle, it doesn't look like much is blooming, but we grow like zinnias, cosmos, status, a whole variety, but a fairly small field. But we do have a little flower CSA where folks come and they can pick flowers, and it's also open to the public. People come and pick by the jar. So that season is really mid-July till September, we say, so whatever's left now is kind of bonus.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I know Jess brought some flowers home, and definitely the sunflowers, and she grew a couple really big sunflowers in our house, but the squirrels went up there and ate all the seeds. We were like, wait a minute, what can you do? They can climb them,
Yeah.
So what do we have over here? Is that corn?
That's actually popcorn. We don't grow sweet corn, but we do grow popcorn for fun. But that's another sad tale of the wet season. We did not have the harvest we would like, but it is typically a very fun thing. We hang it in the greenhouse to dry, and then people take the kernels off the cob and pop them at home.
So I didn't realize that there's a specific corn that is for popping popcorn versus what you eat. Wow.
There's many there's different varieties you can plant for it.
Wow. The things you learn. The things you learn from farming. Is there anything else that you think that we should know about the farm and the CSA? So people can go up to your website, barrettmillsfarm.com, and they can sign up for the CSA there?
Yes, we'll open up sign-ups for the public in December this year, but that is how folks sign up. We also have a list there of what we grow, and like the blog shows different season, like we list weekly what we have available to choose from. We typically have around 12 to 16 items for them to choose from, and we list it every week so folks can go back and look through and see what kinds of things we have, different times of year and things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that the next season isn't as rainy.
Thanks.
Well, drought and
We
then
want
rain.
some rain.
We do want rain, but we've had the whole gamut this year.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
crazy.
Weather's not a casual topic with farmers. We're like, oh, but also this.
Well, and we live
Yeah.
near Shelburne Farm Orchard, and so I know in the spring, if we get a frost, the fans go on, and we can hear the fans.
Yeah.
It sounds like a little bit of a helicopter, but I'm used to it. I mean, they go on at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I know, oh, it's a frost. It's going to be toast. It's going to be cool this morning. Well, that's great. Well, I just want to thank you guys for letting us come and interview and learning more about your farm and about the CSA. And again, you can go up on their website, barrettsmillfarm.com, and learn more about the CSA, get some recipes, read the blogs, see the picture of them pushing the truck in from the field. Any help, we'll take it. And thank you for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Get Healthy with Holly.